It was in the dark of the moon that Gilman had the terrible dreams. His room was in the old witch house, that peaked Gothic affair whose gable overhung the sidewalk. The converging walls and slanting ceiling gave the space an unusual shape, and it was Gilman who first noticed that the ceiling corner seemed more than acute. The angle was somehow all wrong. Curious investigations revealed that 2 of the walls formed an angle of less than 90 degrees, yet that corner extended into a space that seemed to go elsewhere entirely, as though normal geometry was suspended there and replaced by something from outside. In his dreams, he saw that hideous chamber where the acute angle of the ceiling met the angle of the walls in a manner that seemed to open vast gulfs of space and time. He could not describe the sensation, save that it was like gazing into the 4th dimension itself. The angles were all wrong, yet somehow the mathematics worked, and the spaces that opened were not the spaces of normal geometry. And there, in those wrong spaces, moved the old crone, Keziah Mason, and her familiar, that blasphemous creature, Brown Jenkin. The dark little thing was no larger than a good-sized rat, but its sharp-toothed, bearded face was evilly human, while its paws were like tiny human hands. It took messages betwixt old Keziah and the devil, and was nursed on the witch blood which Keziah got from the devil. He had been seen more than once in the witch house before old Keziah was taken away. They said he had not been seen for years, but no one could ever be quite sure. Through the vague abysses, Gilman could see other worlds and other galaxies, and curious curved black bridges that seemed to connect them. There were eddying pools of darkness and little rushes of spectral sound. He was in the 4th dimension now, beyond the walls and beyond the angles. Keziah was there, and Brown Jenkin, and behind them loomed shapes that he dared not examine too closely. They were assembling for something, gathering at the boundaries where the angles permitted passage. And he understood then that the witch house had always been a doorway, and that on certain nights, when the angles aligned properly, things could come through from the spaces between spaces, from the gulfs where the old ones wait, patient and potent.
Sisters, brothers, seekers of the unknown, tonight we come together in acknowledgement and celebration of Dark Spirits Day. Today is in honor of powers older than we can remember. In this gathered hush, we acknowledge that the light which flickers in our world of lamplit houses or dancing bonfires is but a breath against the vast, silent expanse from which it issues. And to that silent expanse, we dedicate this evening the realm of the darkness, the great void, the mirror of the self, the eternal silence. Because long before the garish jack-o'-lanterns and costume revels, our ancestors recognized that the boundary between the seen and the unseen thinned each autumn. The Celtic festival of Samhain marked the end of the harvest and the turning inward into the long nights. Fires were kindled, souls were appeased, and disguises donned, not merely in merriment, but in caution, confusion, and survival. The veil grew thin, and spirits pressed near. With the spread of Christian tradition, Samhain shadows were folded into All Hallows' Eve, later Halloween, carrying forward fragments, the flickering candle in the window to guide wandering souls, the masks worn to cross unseen realms, the stories of restless ghosts. Over centuries, that solemn tension between fear and respect, and between mortals and spirits, became softened as ritual and revel turned spectacle and delight. Yet the kernel remains. In autumn's deepening dark, we remember that life creeps again to its source, The dead walk closer, boundaries fray, and those things we cannot name stir in the quiet. The whole Dark Spirit's day is to not chase away the dark, but to stand in it, to look into the abyss and let silence speak. The darkness is not destructively malignant. It does not create nor destroy. It simply is. Infinite stillness, complete blackness. It is a mirror of what we bring. We call it the unnamed darkness, magnum tenebrosum, the great darkness. It predates stars and will outlast their dying embers. It is our beginning and our end. Where Halloween whispers of the restless dead and mischievous specters, Dark Spirit's Day contemplates something vaster, the ennobled void between them, the ancestor of fear, the primordial graves from which light itself emerged, draw no breath, possess no malice, yet to gaze upon them unprepared risks the shattering of the mind, for in that mirror one's own shadows may rise. In choosing to gather tonight, we differ from playful festivities. There is no carnival of ghosts, no juvenile parades of spooks. Instead, we walk a quieter path, a pilgrimage into the unseen, a solemn remembrance that we are small, but capable of facing eternity's hush. There are things which bind Dark Spirit's Day to Halloween and Samhain. The thinning veil, the discourse with spirits, the ritual lighting, the seeking of protection. These things echo older rites. Both fear and reverence are present, and both masks and wards serve as armor. Yet the difference runs deep, as Halloween is celebrated now, often indulges in playful scare, theatrical hauntings, grotesque humor. Dark Spirit Day is not entertainment, it is devotion, caution, and remembrance. And where Halloween may celebrate the liminal, Dark Spirit's Day accepts it with greater gravity, acknowledging that we are not the center, but small flickers in cosmic silence. Words and aegises may be made or charged on this night, when the barrier between the worlds is most frail. Bear a potency or protection far greater than the charms made at lighter times. So tonight, we walk both a remembered path of community and lighthearted togetherness, but do not neglect to honor the traditional customs or propitiations and wardings, but our eyes are turned inward towards the great darkness. So now, in this hush, let us gather our breath, feel the stars overhead, sense the pulse behind the veil. Let us begin our procession, our naming, our silent tributes to that which was before the light, and what will endure beyond its passing. Welcome to Dark Spirit's Day. May you walk with eyes open into the silence, into the mirror, into the void.
With this, we will now begin the charging of the protective charm you have prepared. During the following meditation, hold the item in your hand. Feel the material with your fingers and, if you wish to, trace the pattern you have cut into or applied onto the material. But do not let your thoughts linger too much on the details, and instead take in the whole thing. Remember the time you spent on preparing it, on making it not just right, but making it your own. During the meditation, you will hear the following sound. After this, we will begin the invocation proper. The words will appear on the screen, and I will speak them. If you wish, you may join in and follow along, or you may remain silent and merely hold your concentration on the charm you have in your hands. Once the invocation is finished, the sound will play again. The meditation background will continue for a little while after, to allow everyone to come back to the here and now in their own way. Old light, cold flame, veil thin, spirits walk again. By salt and ash, by star and skin, let no dark thing pass within. I name thee ward, I name thee shield, from what is sought and not revealed. Lesser watchers, drifting near, take no notice and pass me clear. I see, but I am not seen. I hear, but I am not heard. I live, but I am not marked. By the edge of void and star, be bound, be sealed, be held afar. Kadishtu, Negeft, Mega, Ahug, bethink. Kadishtu, Negeft, Mega, Ahug, bethink.
And so, as the final echoes of invocation drift into the night, we bring this gathering of Dark Spirits Day to its close. To each of you who stood with us in the stillness and who braved in the silence, honored the darkness and remembered what most forget, we thank you. Your presence gives shape to what cannot be seen. Your reverence anchors what might otherwise drift untethered into madness. Tonight, beneath veiled stars and behind the thinnest of veils, we came together to celebrate. We have charged the warding sigils which you etched, carved, drawn, or painted. Please treat them not as trinkets, but as thresholds. Their potency lingers only so long as your respect does. Remember to guard them, and renew them when the day comes about again. And now, to close this night, we offer one final moment, a radio-style play performed by 4 of our Nith. The tale is called Alice at Relay, and it is written by Murray Ewing. Now hush, as we hope that you will enjoy, and let us finish tonight's gathering.
What a curious thing,
said Alice,
one might easily lose one's balance.
as she walked through the labyrinth tangles of the sea-risen city's impossible angles.
One must call this place most non-Euclidean.
Alice mused in a mathematical idiom.
I feel lost in black seas of infinity. I do hope I shan't be too late for tea.
Soon she came to an odd sort of door, which might have been set in the floor. On its surface was carved a Jabberwock.
And who might answer if I were to knock?
So she took herself on an unrectangular stroll.
What rabbit might emerge from this size of hole?
Round the lintel, the threshold of jams of that portal,
It won't be pink-eyed, and it may not be mortal.
said Alice.
I've been faced with such problems before, although then, I recall, it was a much smaller door. And I had a drink-me-drink I could take, and a key made of gold, and an eat-me cake. I've been through a mirror, beyond the silvered pane, and though I'm not sure I could do that again, I should certainly not be defeated by this.
Alice thought herself quite the adventuress. At that moment came, wandering a gentlemanly man, somnambulistically pondering a book in his hand. He stopped beside Alice and raised his finger, said,
By this door it does not do to linger, for I know of what waits in the darkness below. Know of as nightmares may lead one to know. It's a thing such as must shun the light of the day, for this is the nightmare corpse city really.
What thing?
questioned Alice, and Lovecraft, 'twas he, shook his lantern-jawed head at her curiosity.
As you ask, and so you will not be tempted to look, I will read you a passage from my commonplace book. I have written,
He said,
for so dreamed it have I, that which is not dead may eternal lie.
It may lie,
said Alice.
but I find it uncouth. I was always taught to do my best to tell the truth.
Lovecraft, unperturbed, turned a page or two to find the passage that he hoped would change his little lady's mind. While Alice turned her ear towards that door set in the ground, she thought she heard a distant stirring sound.
If I say my somewhat extravagant imagination yielded simultaneous pictures of an octopus, a dragon, and
Quoted Lovecraft.
a human caricature,
Of its precise nature,
Alice said.
you seem unsure.
a pulpy and tentacled head,
He progressed.
surmounted a body both scaled and grotesque, and flapped
He continued.
rudimentary wings.
Rudimentary.
Rudimentary!
And that settled the thing,
A mountain walked or stumbled.
Or perhaps
put in Alice.
it gyred and it gimbled.
A stir after years to be measured most strictly in Vigintillions.
That's 10 to the 63.
But this monster is merely the mask of what's worse. The faceless monstrosity of the cold universe. The meaninglessness of our bleak situation. The smallness of man amidst dark obfuscation.
What you say
Ventured Alice.
may be true in its way, though with nonsense for meaningless, if I may, and for bleak, I'd put curious, for it seems so to me that this world's full of wonders, not monstrosity. And smallness, why, small I have been, on occasion, and also quite large, yet I'm of the persuasion that the best thing is being middle-sized, like I am. So instead, have the perfect middle-sizedness of man. If you please, Mr. Lovecraft, I'll venture to prove, and I hope that you won't think me forward or rude, that the way that you look at the world is quite wrong, My argument, truly, is not overlong. Caterpillars are dopey, and hatters are mad, and the mouse and the mockful morn turtle are sad, and the white rabbit's late, and the red queen is vexed, and why is a raven like a writing desk?
What kind of an argument is that?
Lovecraft cried.
A nonsensical argument,
Alice replied.
for if it's all nonsense or meaninglessness, you can take your conclusions any way you think best.
I prefer logic and reason.
He sighed. Alice swished her skirt and said,
Oh, so do I. For logic and reason, it must surely be said. Say that meaning is not in the world, but one's head.
That's easy for you to say, little girl. You're fictional. You don't have to live in the world.
I agree, Mr. Lovecraft. That may well be true. But as to being fictional, now so are you.
At that moment, with Lovecraft about to reply, a nasty slopping sound came from deep down behind. Those gargantuan doors, which then queerly recessed and gave out a smoky tenebrousness. Then up from that darkness almost material, it lumbered slobberingly, immemorial. Cthulhu, not dead, nor now dreaming, arose.
I perceive,
Noted Alice.
that he's wearing no clothes.
It lives!
Lovecraft howled against the winds that racked the world.
This is no time for social niceties, young girl. Run! Don't look back! Close your mind up to its taint. As for I must sit down. I think I'm going to faint.
But as Cthulhu's flabby paws reached out to pick up Alice, a smile appeared in the air, a toothy white abyss, and then a pair of yellow eyes, and pricked up furry ears. The Cheshire Cat said,
Just what are you planning, Cthulhu dear? To eat her? Eat them both? Gobble them down like juicy mice? It hardly proves your point, you know, and besides, it isn't nice. Remember, dear, that fantasists are notoriously hard to swallow, and fictional girls are worse. They disappear and leave you hollow.
Cthulhu roared and raged in a violent display.
Oh, save me,
Said the cat, quite bored.
That's what you always say.
Singly,
Cthulhu gibbered.
Luye, Wiganagu, Vitagan.
Language!
Warned the Cheshire Cat. Then to Alice,
I beg your pardon. Now go back to your dreaming bed.
the cat said to Cthulhu, and grumbling nonsense, that's just what the giant monster did do. Then Alice sighed, and brushed her skirt, and flattened down her hair, for it had started to stand up.
That gave me quite a scare.
Then Lovecraft woke.
It's gone.
He said. He was quite pale and shaken.
I feared for my sanity, and was promptly overtaken.
The Cheshire Cat still grinned its grin from ear to brindled ear.
Oh, you can't help that.
It quietly purred.
We're all mad here.
Then the grin of the Cheshire Cat slowly widened, till its chortle width spanned the entire horizon. Then was gone. Lovecraft dabbed his forehead with a cloth.
I think that was no cat, but the demon, Azathoth.
It is time
Alice said.
to wake up and go back home.
But shall you wake, or shall I?
Lovecraft said with a moan.
If I wake, you're a dream. And if you wake, then it's me.
She took his hand.
We shall wake simultaneously. Then, once upon a time,
She said.
and happily ever after, and meaninglessness is nonsense when it's taken without laughter, and laughter is what people do, so let us do it quick. To wake us up and make us laugh, I have a limerick. There was an old young man from Providence who, considering the scientific evidence, said if only we knew how to add 2 and 2, we'd think it better to live on in ignorance.
How true.
Lovecraft said, and allowed himself a smile. Both awoke, and that weird locale was silent for a while. Until you, who thought yourself just a listener of this rhyme, realized you'd been left stranded in this nightmare for all time.